Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at and installing the MBRP Installer Series Race Version Catback for 2018 and newer GT Mustangs without active exhaust. So you're going to want to be checking this catback out if you're looking for something that's going to give you a ton of volume and a ton of sound, but that's at a very budget-friendly price. This catback costs right about $600. It's made of 3-inch aluminized steel tubing and it comes with an H-pipe. Now, if you guys didn't know already, or if you were wondering, MBRP makes a Pro Series and an Installer Series. The difference between the two is going to be the materials. As far as loudness goes, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being a quiet upgrade and 5 being a very loud upgrade, I'm going to call the race version of this catback a full 5 out of 5 on the loudness meter. When it comes to the install, I'm going to call that one a 2 out of 3 wrenches in the difficulty meter, and we'll show you how to get this on your car now. For this install, we used a 3H drive impact gun, a deep 15mm socket, a deep 13mm socket, a shallow 13mm, a small extension, a power ratchet, and a rubber mallet. Okay guys, so we are going to drop our catback as one big piece. We're going to start up in the front and then work our way towards the back. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to loosen these clamps here. Now you'll need a 15mm socket for that. We're going to go ahead and loosen all 4 of these nuts here. I'm just double checking to make sure that the clamps popped free. If they didn't, you guys can always take a flathead screwdriver right here and just pry them apart a little bit. The next thing that we're going to do is unbolt our 2 sets of hangers. Now you guys have 2 hangers back here behind the rear diff, and there are also 2 hangers over top of your rear mufflers. You'll need a 13mm socket for that. What we're going to do is we are going to remove the bolts, but we're going to leave the hangers clipped into the frame here, and that's going to hold our exhaust up until we're ready to remove it. All right, now we'll remove the bolts back here by the muffler. And then we'll do the same thing for the other side. Alright guys, so at this point you're ready to drop your catback as one big piece. Now it's going to make things a lot easier for you if you have a second set of hands. I have Andrew here, he's going to help me drop the catback down. And what we're going to do is we're going to unclip the hangers from the body of the car, and once that's done, we're going to push backwards on the resonator and then it will drop free from the car. Alright guys, with our factory catback uninstalled, we can take a quick second to compare it to our MBRP catback. So the MBRP catback is made of aluminized steel, and it is a 3-inch catback, so it starts at 2.5 inch and then is going to jump up to 3 inch, which is a nice little upgrade in diameter for you. The other thing I wanted to mention is that this does come with an H-pipe. So an H-pipe is known to give more of a deeper sound. Most car enthusiasts associate an H-pipe with more of a true muscle car sound, as opposed to an X-pipe, which is going to give you a little bit more of a higher level of volume, but it's also going to bring in some raspy notes. Alright, so then your H-pipe is going to flow down to your MBRP mufflers here, which obviously look a little bit different than your normal regular muffler setup. Lastly, you have a quad tip setup here with some polished MBRP tips. Now, before we get this installed on the car, we have to transfer over a couple things, mainly our hangers. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the hangers off of the factory catback, get them installed in the MBRP, and then we'll go ahead and get it on the car. All right, so we're gonna grab our hangers off the factory exhaust. If you guys have a hard time doing this, you can always use some WD-40 or PB Blaster. We'll go ahead and get them onto the MBRP. We'll do the same thing with the rear hangers. All right, we'll start by getting our H-pipe in place first. A couple things I want to mention. We have our factory clamps here. We are going to reuse those. We're just going to double check and make sure they're in the proper place. Ours are. I also have a pull jack here, and that's going to help me get the H-pipe up into place and hold it up for me while I get the rest of the system installed. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that there's a support brace on the bottom of the H-pipe, and you want to make sure that's pointing towards the ground, not up towards the bottom of the car. So we'll make sure that's pointing towards the ground, and we'll go ahead and get our H-pipe in place. Basically what I'm going to do is just line it up here and slide it into the clamps. And like I said, I'll use the pull jack. Now we're gonna grab the next piece of the puzzle, and a couple of things I wanna point out here. We have our hanger in place, and we also have a clamp over the end of our pipe too. So before we connect it to the H-pipe, just make sure you guys have clamps in place. We're going to slide this over the end of the H-pipe. And I'm actually going to clip my hanger into the body of the car. That's gonna help hold things up. And I do have the hardware here. I'm going to just thread this into place, and that's going to make sure that this stays up and in the proper place. I'm not gonna tighten it yet because I know I will need to make some adjustments with this pipe. All right, now we'll grab our muffler once again, making sure that we have a clamp in place. We'll slide it over the pipe here, and then we'll take the hanger back by the muffler, clip it into the body of the car. Once again, we will hand tighten our hardware in there just to make sure this doesn't fall out. All right, so now we're gonna switch over to the other side and we're gonna do the same thing. We'll loosely assemble our exhaust. Make sure that our hanger gets clipped into the body, and we'll start the hardware. All right, we'll do the same thing with the muffler on this side. Once again, make sure we have a clamp in place. All right, so at this point we can get our tips installed. We're going to slide our inside tip into place. And the tips are tightened by Allen key bolts, so I have a 5/16 here. I'm gonna make sure the tip is straight and aligned properly. I want to make sure that it's also pushed in far enough onto our muffler here, and I'll go ahead and tighten it down. All right, so then we'll get our next tip in place. And once again, make sure that's straight before we tighten it. All right, now we'll get our other tip in place. Now, obviously, it's not sitting correctly in the rear valence yet because we don't have our system completely lined up the way it needs to be, but we're still gonna get our tip installed, and that's gonna help us line things up because we'll be able to see how the tips are sitting. We'll go ahead and tighten this down. All right, now we're gonna go through and tighten down all of our clamps from the front to the back, so we're switched back to a 15mm socket. All right guys, now we're ready to tighten our next set of clamps, and basically what I'm doing is I'm checking to make sure my H-pipe is straight. I'm double checking to see my tip alignment. I do have another pull jack in place that's helping me straighten everything out. But from here, now that everything's good, we can go ahead and tighten our clamp. All right, so now we'll move to our next clamp, which is right here. All right guys, so we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. I have everything lined up and straight. Now we can tighten our clamps. So all we have left to do is tighten down our hanger bolts and double check our tip alignment. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this review and install. Keep in mind you can always check this cat back out more online right here at AmericanMuscle.com.